It's time to do Friday business. That means we have 55 minutes to go around the world of business, Friday on Business Incorporated. And here's what we have prepared for you. Amidst political crisis in Rivers State, we'll take a look at the economy, especially the real sector. And Ethiopia doubles their coffee production in 5 years. Zimbabwe limits outflow of US dollars for departing residents to $2,000. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Minnie John Mekwa, and this is Business Incorporated. We start from the global space. As usual, oil prices rose on Thursday, underpinned by a spike in fuel demand and concerns about potential supply disruptions. That, of course, going on, the tension heightened between Israel and Iran. And Brent futures, we see for this afternoon down 0.4%. $79.11 a barrel. WTI also down 0.3%, $75.64 a barrel. Of course, the tension going on between Iran and Israel, Hezbollah is also involved, is a major driver. The storm is also one going on in the United States. Is already driven up demand for gasoline in that area, with about a quarter of fuel stations selling out of supplies, which has helped to support crude prices. The President Joe Biden has also waded into this, and he spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about Israel's plans concerning Iran in a 30-minute call that the White House described as direct and very productive. We'll wait to see the result of that productive conversation. Now, in the oil space, but back here in Nigeria, the Implementation Committee on Domestic Sales of Crude Oil in Local Currency, chaired by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, has held its second post-commencement review meeting, where it reported a successful transition of operations in line with the directive issued by the Federal Executive Council. The meeting believes that with the mechanism now in full operation, along with the commencement of local production, the country is well positioned to transition to a fully deregulated market for all petroleum products. Consequently, petroleum product marketers are now able to purchase PMS directly from local refineries without the intermediary role of NNPCL. The committee is encouraging marketers to initiate direct purchases from refineries on mutually negotiated commercial terms, which will promote competition and improve market efficiency. I guess the summary of that is bye-bye to subsidy, no more intervention from the government. Now let's leave the oil space and go to metals. Gold prices climbed on Friday after recent data supported bets for a Federal Reserve interest rate cut next month, while market participants are with the United States Producer Price Index report for further direction. Keep our eyes on the numbers. Now we see that for spot gold, it was up 0.5% to $2,641.71 per ounce, 0.5% up. US gold futures also up 0.7%, $2,658.90. Look at other metals that were shown earlier. Yeah, so we see silver also. Everything seems to be trending 0.2%. $31.25 per ounce, while platinum 0.9% in the green, $975.65. Palladium 1.2% up, $1,082.07. Data on Thursday showed the CPI yesterday rose slightly more than expected in September, while jobless claims has increased to 258,000 in the week ended October 5. That's against 230,000 for the previous week. Now, back here in Nigeria, the United States Embassy in the country is appealing to Nigerian visa applicants to exercise patience as it continues to resolve the challenges that they face because of an introduction of a new service provider. In August, the United States Mission had launched a transition to a new visa appointment system, with Nigeria being one of the first countries in the world in which the American government launched the new system. The embassy explains that the goal of the new visa system is to make obtaining visa appointments in Abuja and Lagos easier for applicants and more transparent for all visa applicants in the country. Now, there's been a meeting of accountants general of the state in Nigeria, and this meeting was held in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. The meeting, which was at the instance of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, had the target to foster closer collaboration between states and the service to mobilize revenue for developmental purposes. The executive chairman of the service, Mr. Zaka Dideji, who hosted the conversation, challenged participants to key into the reforms of this present administration.
We are all agents of same government, united by one vision to ramp up revenue for the growth and development of Nigeria and by extension for the benefit of its citizens. It is no longer news that our nation is facing economic challenges, but as a government, it is imperative that we look inward and increase our internally generated revenue. However, this does not necessarily mean increasing tax rate. Instead, we must focus on blocking the leakages and ensuring full compliance with the existing tax law, a task that I believe we can achieve together. Your role as Accountant General is critical in this regard. You are responsible for ensuring that VAT is charged and remitted, that stamp duties are paid on contracts, and that withholding tax elements in contract are properly withheld and remitted. This is not just tax assigned to you by law, but by responsibility that are central to the sources of our collective mandate. We trust that whenever we call upon you, we can count on your continued support and cooperation.
All right, now let's go to Rivers State, looking at that economy in the midst of all the political crisis that has been happening, from the governor to the former governor of Rivers State. I wonder how the real sector is coping with this, and we have to discuss this with us this afternoon the president of Rivers Entrepreneurs and Investors Forum, Ibifiri Bob Manuel, joins us virtually now. Mr. Bob Manuel, good afternoon, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Good. We see you are in Miami. I hope the troubles of petrol price and River State politics hasn't driven you away from Nigeria.
Well, it's a mixed bag. It's a situation that we have to all deal with as businesses, but we're coping. We're coping.
How much is this affecting you? Or I mean, you're the president of Rivers Entrepreneurs. How much is the political crisis in the state affecting business in that state?
Well, I think the businesses are the most hit by all of this shenanigans that's going on in Rivers State, because for businesses, we have absolutely zero interest in all of what is going on. What we're really interested in is the economy. And whenever you have this amount of rancor, it's a disincentive to business growth in every society. And Rivers State is not immune to what we're faced with today. So it's really a major disincentive to foreign direct investments that are built to come into the country, that are built to flow into the state. And our businesses are being hampered, and things are not, the prospects are really foggy as it is today.
When you say it's being hampered, is it people cannot go to their workplaces? Is it investors are not coming? What exactly do you mean?
Yeah, what I mean is, I'll give you a typical scenario. A typical scenario is a case where we're trying to bet a 2 billion investment into River State, and we're here having all the meetings with the investors, and we're geared to be in River State with, they're geared to come into River State for a familiarization visit. And what runs through my head is a situation whereby, how do you get to explain for all of what is going on? If anybody clicks on the computer and Googles about River State, the kind of information, the vibes that are coming out of River State is, for us, definitely not the best kind of information that we need. We need some kind of patronage that would put the state in a good light and drive investment and attract further foreign direct investments into the state, rather than this publicity that that is being bantered everywhere.
Yeah, but has this disturbed the oil and gas activities? Because it seems in spite of that, you still have a lot of attraction there, knowing River State and the potential in oil.
Yeah, I mean, the oil potentials are there, but are we making the best use of the potentials? I'll give you a typical scenario. A couple of days back, we had a public holiday, a couple of days back. And after the public holiday, with all the issues that came out of as a spin-off of a local government election, and obviously there would obviously be some kind of pushback, as in pushback from the private sector and confidence in investing in the state. Obviously, that's why we strongly think the gladiators should find a way to resolve the issues amicably and spare the business community of all of this drama that is going on. So it's really hampering on our businesses and is not encouraging for the growth of our businesses in the state. So we're calling on the gladiators to find a way to forge peace, and let's see how we can move on. Because look, every economy is centered around the activities that the activities and the receptiveness of such an economy or such an environment. And when you don't have that stable outlook, it will definitely hamper the business growth of that society. And that's what we're faced with in Port Harcourt, in the River State today.
Unfortunately, asking for peace there. And you shared a video with me before the program, how on the streets of Miami you did see a Nigerian branded cloth. That's really interesting, all the way in the United States.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised and very elated when I walked into a shop with my wife, and the fabric that were there were typical of our fabrics in Nigeria and in Africa. So we decided to pry into it. And as we were in the Neiman Marcus shop, we looked at it. We found out that it was a Nigerian branded name. The outfit, I mean, the designer was a Nigerian. They carried a Nigerian name, Busayo, and it was branded, made in Nigeria. I mean, I was very excited. But it tells you these are the little things that we could actually come together, especially from the public sector. What they basically need is to encourage the private sector. Encourage the private sector, stimulate the private sector. The potentials are actually with the private sector, not with the public sector. You can imagine that fabric, we're talking about here, just a simple fabric that in Nigeria you could easily make for not the simple adire you could make for not more than maybe a 50,000 or something. But it's sold in the high streets of Miami for as much as almost ₦1 million. So it tells you the potentials, and it's virtually all the stores I went into, I saw that those same designer displaying their outfits. So you can imagine the potentials that we just frit away every day when we put the private sector at the back seat, whereas we just go out of our way to try to disenfranchise the private investment and the private sector and what they do. That's basically what it is.
I mean, that's something to be proud of. And I think kudos to the designer or the maker right there, because sometimes even when you see Nigerian made goods, even in Nigeria, they are not tagged made in Nigeria. Like, we're not proud, or we do not think that something good can come out of the country. So I think a lot of kudos right there to that designer.
I give a lot of kudos, and I've told myself I'll take it upon myself to get to meet with this designer and see how you could further encourage. There are several of these designers every part of Nigeria. What we simply need to do is to open up the vista of this opportunity. The opportunities go beyond the oil and gas. For me, I think the oil and gas is actually a major distraction to the growth trajectory of the country. We need to look at different items and different things we do. Today, our product is sold outside of Nigeria. It's sold in the United States and the neighboring African countries. So if we could do all of that and keep doing all of that, the GDP of a state in typical scenario, GDP of the state like River State, is just about less than $30 billion. And $30 billion is a drop in the ocean. So why must we keep fighting ourselves over little or nothing? We ought to rather gravitate towards each other and see how we can get the greatness out of Nigeria, because Nigeria is indeed a very vibrant place where you have a lot of very vibrant businesses that are global benchmark setters all around the world. So we need to come together and we need to reassure ourselves and see how we could gravitate this and showcase this in the best light that we should in Nigeria.
All right, Mr. Bob Manuel. Well, I guess perhaps if we have some alternative to the oil and gas, perhaps there'll be less fighting for resources, and even some of the political crisis, which we know one way or the other is connected to resources, might be solved. But thank you so much for sharing your views. We join you in the prayers for peace in Rivers State by the political gladiators and for the growth of the economy. President, Rivers Entrepreneurs and Investors Forum, Mr. Ibifiri Bob Manuel, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure is mine.
Let's take a break now. When we come back, we'll look at the automobile industry. Some alternative also coming that way. That's after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Still watching Business Incorporated here on Channels Television. We head to Oka now. We tried to have this conversation on Monday. Unfortunately, we could not. So hopefully we would have it today. We're having this conversation with the chairman of Innocent Group of Companies discussing the issue with locally made, manufactured or assembled vehicles in Nigeria. The minister had told us, Minister of Trade, had said that some funds have been made available to players in the local industry, the local automobile industry. Let's find out now from Mr. Innocent what the status is. Good afternoon, Mr. Innocent. Thank you so much for your time.
Good afternoon, my sister.
So the minister said they've given you guys, the players, some fund, and so by the end of this year, we should be having Nigerian-made vehicles. What's the status of that?
Come again.
Minister of Trade has said that some money has been made available to local players, to car makers like yourself, so that we can be having Nigerian-made vehicles. What's the level of development about that?
Okay. Yes, thank you very much. Now, Minister have said, and I've been trying to discuss with Minister too, so that I can give him the correct information over motor manufacturing in Nigeria. But it becomes difficult, but I will still continue.
So, how is business doing cars in Nigeria? How is business with you?
The Nigerian business is difficult, but in a short time, the way the government are taking it now, I'm sure that the new government you will have is trying to make business easy this time, because a lot of policies is putting on. With those policies, I think business will come better after some time.
But how is all this increase in petrol price, petrol queues, how is that affecting your business?
Yes, it's affecting business generally, not only my own, everybody. But anything that is everything that affects everybody is affecting everyone. Because if the businessman gets something easy for him, even the prices and everything will be easy for him. Everybody will enjoy a cheaper price. But now, when the foreign exchange is going on, everything is going on. Even the salary of workers are going up. So it's affecting everything. Somebody can eat higher salary now. Anything he wants to buy, you buy it at a higher cost. So everything has changed. It's not affecting only industry, it's affecting everybody.
Okay, so you are also doing electric vehicles. Where is that now? Are people patronizing that? Are people interested in electric vehicles?
Yes, people have so much interest in electric vehicles. That's why I'm eager to develop it. And now developing, I have developed electric vehicle because why it's only my motor in Nigeria can write made in Nigeria because I produce the carcass. If people need electric vehicle, what I need is to bring electrical component and put on it. That's it. If you need engine, we put electric engine on it. If you need CNG, we put CNG engine for you. So we're in a position to produce electric vehicle right now. And people has much interest on electric vehicle because of high cost of fuel. Some people are needing it, some people are buying it immediately. I've sold so many quantity now in Nigerian market.
Okay, but they say it's expensive because you are importing almost every part of your vehicle. You are having to import it. So that makes your cars very expensive.
No, my own is not expensive. My own my own price is like a normal car price. It's not expensive. It's people that importing it is getting it expensive. Anybody that order my own price is very cheap. You compare it with another car. But what I did is to buy the battery instead of buying the engine. It's almost close to the same price.
So when we talk about people should buy made in Nigeria clothes, cars, and all that, a lot of people have been asking if government personnel, the officers of the government, are they patronizing you? Are they encouraging you as a local producer of vehicles in the country?
Yes, government is doing their best. They're patronizing local made in Nigeria. So many states are recognized and they are buying local made. They prefer made in Nigeria. And I'm telling everybody that anybody that buys made in Nigeria is supporting this country. We need to cooperate. We need to buy made in Nigeria to move our economy better.
So, Mr. Chukuma, do you see a scenario where a car can be, made from beginning to the end in Nigeria? Do you see that happening in Nigeria very soon?
Yes, we have capacity to do a car from end to the end. But because of the some items, the producer in Nigeria cannot make good sales. They cannot be here producing it. Anyone that we can get a good sales, if we can be able to sell 10,000 units of vehicle in a year, I will localize everything, even the engine. I'll make the engine local here. If I can be able to sell 10,000 engine in 1 year, 10,000 motor in 1 year, I will localize the engine. Because localizing the engine is my agreement with the overseas when I started. We plan to localize, but we must dish up to 10,000 vehicles in 1 year. Then we set up the engine factory, we localize it. This engine is doing major now that we are not doing here. Those items that we are not doing here, if we can be able to sell 10,000 vehicles in 1 year, I will assure you that I will localize everything here. All the components I buy overseas, they will come here and set up the plant together with me, we localize it. But we must reach target of 10,000 vehicles in 1 year.
All right, Mr. Chukuma, we certainly look forward to that. Although, some players in the industry do complain of the issue of infrastructure and the lack of cottages, the companies that will make the small things like the bolts and nuts. But maybe it will come back to you on that promise.
Yes. Now, government is setting up component manufacturing to be around us so that we can source the component around. In my own position, anything that we can source local here, let anybody that produces it feel free to come and meet me. I'll use his own. Anyway, the one I will get it outside is the one we cannot do yet. But I believe after some years, we'll do the whole thing. When people are developing so many components now on motor vehicle. So, and I'm patronizing them. Anyone they make perfect here, I buy from them, I don't import them. But those they cannot do, I import them.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Innocent Chukuma, Chairman, Innocent Group of Companies. We wish you the very best and look forward to a fully made Nigerian vehicle and sometime soon in the country.
Thank you very much.
All right, now let's head to the markets now and explore some of those updates from the market. We saw the impressive results from Geregu. That is one of it. And the other, obviously, is the listing of Aradel. So we saw this in the morning, just a little bit of an impressive one here. Power seems to be a very good market these days, but of course it's very capital intensive, so you can just hop into that place. So this is Geregu. Let's talk about some of these results and what to expect in the coming days from the markets with Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed. Is the Chief Executive Officer of Finance with Mukhtar. Mr. Mohammed, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure always.
Yeah, when we look at the Geregu result, I mean, it's so impressive. Over 100% in most of it, and the share price 1,000 naira. One will ask, more power for the people. Is that what has brought this, or are there other sources that have been able to drive this impressive result?
I think the reform is one of those things that you could say attributed to this good result, especially the reform in the energy sector. And if you look at it, energy sector alone, that in terms of energy price brought about 71.4 billion. For me, that is huge. That shows that in their core business that is really providing the profit. So that is a good result, especially when your core business is responsible for the kind of profit that you are seeing. Coupled with that, again, we saw the earning per share also moved up by 9 naira it's now 9 naira 46 kobo. So I think those are very, very good results we have seen from Geregu.
Yeah, and we also see Aradel. They're about to list next week, I believe. That, of course, should increase our market cap, and the issue of petrol and non-petrol and price hike. That's good business for them too, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good one that they are going to be listed. Especially, it's not that they were not listed before now, but I think they were in the
they were in the NASD market.
Yes, and the good thing about them with the recent events in the oil and gas sector, there is a very, very good company for investors to really look at because they are involved. They are major suppliers of Shell, of Chevron, of Mobil, of Seplat. They do a lot of business with those people, and with the current deregulation in that sector, I think it's a very, very good stock for investors to really look at. And like you said, it will dip in the market. We are not told how much is coming. They are really coming into the market, but they are a big player in the oil and gas sector, especially being as major suppliers to some of these major oil companies. So for me, a good stock to look at, and like you said, it will dip in the market, especially in the oil and gas sector.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to a recovery to the 100,000 level. Do you see these moves perhaps taking us there in the next couple of days or so?
I think 100,000 level is the level that we were there before, but we didn't last long. I think it will happen definitely with this listing. It might happen, but I'm optimistic that we get to those 100,000 level and maybe surpass it sometime first quarter of next year when we begin to see listing of Dangote Refinery and possibly the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and NPC also will be listed. All those will help deepen the market, and I expect that a lot of companies will come to the market because it's becoming cheaper to play the market than getting funds from the banks and others. So hopefully, I think before the end of this year, we might cross that mark. We just need a game changer. We've seen that the prices of some of these high, very capitalized stocks in terms of value, like Dangote Cement, is still have lost its steam. You also see that MTN also have lost its steam, and some of these big players. So, but hopefully, it just take one policy, and you see that this will happen. But this company coming, yes, it might, but I'm not too so optimistic about that. But going forward, I think we might close the year in that above that 100,000 mark, and from next year we'll begin to see the Ocean Index going further than the 100,000 mark.
Yeah, and the banks too. In the last couple of days, a lot of negative sentiments around them.
Well, I think the negative sentiment around the bank is driven by a lot of issues, especially with the hike in interest rate, and you know what that will happen to the bank. It comes with we've seen that in their last result, we've seen a lot of imperial charges in terms of non-performing loans. And going forward, we might continue to see that. You know that, again, some of the banks also have done their right issue, they have done their offer issue. There's no clear-cut statement on was he undersubscribed, was he oversubscribed, or how many of them are you going to be listing, and that could also cause dilution in their shares. And I think, especially again, will this right issue or offer issue, will they be entitled to the final dividend in the year end? And then investors are also waiting for the third quarter results to see what will become of some of the numbers that we've seen thus far. And then by that, calculate that if these shares are going to be added, what will be the earning per share? Will they be able to pay dividend like they paid before now? So I think those are part of the things that a lot of investors are looking at, and it's causing that negativity. And also, you shouldn't forget also that some of these banks also will be marking down this week. So that also is a lot of people have been in those stocks before now, and they've made a lot of profit, and some of them are not interested in collecting the dividend. They are also interested in mark it down, and they see good entry point and coming back to those stocks. So I think that's what is responsible. But the banks are still very liquid, very good stocks for any investors to want to invest in, especially at this moment.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed, for your views and observations right there on the market. Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed, Chief Executive Officer of Finance with Mukhtar. All right, so let's look at other markets now. We have the NGX at this time still in the red, 0.02%, 97,458.38. In Johannesburg, South Africa, it's on the flip side, 0.51%, retaining the 85,000 level. We see other markets. Egypt is closed for today. They don't trade on Fridays, but they closed deeply in the red, 1.33%. For Nairobi, also for Thursday, 0.09% in the green, just 108, what they have come to be known for. Well, let's go to the Middle East and see the two markets that trade on Fridays. That'll be Dubai and Abu Dhabi intraday. Both of them are in the green slightly, so 0.02% and 0.04%. And then for the markets that are not trading today, Tadawul and Qatar, it's mixed. 0.56% is what Tadawul of Saudi Arabia closed with, while Qatar closed slightly down, 0.01%. Go to the United States and see the sentiment of the features just a little bit changed after that CPI data came out yesterday. Investors look ahead to a wholesome inflation reading, and the quarterly for majors. We're counting down, of course, to another meeting by the Fed and see what they will do. So we see Dow Jones in the red, 0.14%, 42,686. S&P also in the red, 0.17%. And NASDAQ also in the red market for the features in the United States. But let's see, after that CPI reading yesterday and the job data also, let's see how the market closed with our correspondent, Maria Bird.
The U.S. stock market took a bit of a dip on Thursday as the Dow Jones was down at 0.1%, the S&P 500 fell at 0.2%, and the heavy tech NASDAQ was just below 0.1%. It is clear that many investors were a bit concerned about inflation reports, which came out a bit higher than anticipated. Wall Street expected to see 0.1% increase in inflation, while we ended up at 0.2% increases. This has many concerned, as also the unemployment rates were the highest we've seen since August of 2023. This will make it difficult for the Federal Reserve to potentially cut rates in the month of November. We will continue to watch to see what will happen over the days and weeks ahead.
We'll certainly see what will happen in the days and weeks ahead. Now let's go to Asia and see what's happening there. There's a meeting scheduled for tomorrow in Asia. Remember the stimulus that moved the market last week? Well, there's supposed to be a further breakdown of that. The briefing is supposed to hold tomorrow, Saturday, 10 a.m. local time in China. So I'm sure the market investors are anticipating that. So we'll see Nikkei is in the green, 0.57%, still retaining the 39,000 level. cusp of Korea. There's something there. The cuts, the interest rate cuts, BOK. They cut their benchmark interest rate by 25 basis points to 3.25%. The first cut since 2020. But it seems investors are not yet very comfortable with that. It marks an end to a multi-year tightening cycle. That was a very long one. That's for cusp in South Korea, in Korea. So the market is in the red. Hang Seng is really good at 2.98%. If you look at other parts, Shanghai has been very dramatic in it moving, very volatile these days. But a bit of stability between yesterday and today. So today it's in the red, 2.55%, 3,217.74. While for India, it's also a red market, 0.11%, 24,972. That's for the market. Let's go over to Europe now, and we stop at France, even though we have our correspondent in Berlin. But we're looking at the budget of France now. That their new government has presented what they call a make or break 2025 budget bill, and that includes tax hikes and spending cuts. So tax is not just in Nigeria or in Africa. But let's get more details on this. What's at stake? I think is one of those things that Chiponda Chimbelu will be telling us. Hi, Chip. Good afternoon.
Thanks for having me. Well, the French government is planning to cut government spending by 60.6 billion euros. And it also expects businesses and the wealthy to step up. They will have to pay higher taxes. Now, France's finance minister, Antoine Armand, said that the EU's second biggest economy is in an unprecedented situation. With its budget, the government aims to reduce the country's deficit to 5% of GDP by next year, from the 6.1% it is expected to reach in 2024. Now, that's a level, of course, that has not been seen since 1945, with the exception of the 2008 financial crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. Now, last year, France had the EU's third highest debt to GDP ratio after Greece and Italy. France hasn't managed to keep its debt at the level mandated by the European Union at 3% of GDP.
So yesterday we talked about the cuts in forecasts of Germany. Now it's France. Do we see this move helping France to balance its budget?
Well, it's a gamble, and French politics will also play a role. France has a minority government. That's because no one party or coalition was able to get an absolute majority in the snap elections held in July. Now, that led to uncertainty over the country's political future, and France only got its government last month. This week, the new Prime Minister, Michel Barnier, who is the head of government, survived a vote of no confidence. The left-wing coalition tried to topple Emmanuel Macron's minority government. So a lot is riding on this budget. If the government fails to get the support of the other two coalitions in France's National Assembly, the French Prime Minister could face another no-confidence vote. A dissolution of the National Assembly could lead to even more uncertainty for investors. They would become more unsure about the prospects that France will indeed be able to lower its deficit from record levels. In May, Standard & Poor's became the second of the three big ratings agencies to lower its view on France's sovereign debt after Fitch earlier this year. And of course, investors have soured on French bonds. So France is paying more to borrow than Spain, Portugal, and Greece.
Yeah, well, politics and economy management always mixing up right there. Let's look at investors and their sentiment at this time.
Well, any French bonds will be in focus, of course, as many try to see how France's government budget is going down with investors. And of course, eyes will also be on the wider response in the country. But apart from that, the mood today on European markets is expected to be cautious ahead of a fiscal policy briefing by China's finance minister on Saturday. There's a lot, of course, that is riding on that as well. Markets expect the Chinese government to announce new spending of up to $420 billion. Now, earlier this week, Beijing disappointed with its stimulus plans. And then, of course, here in Germany, the Federal Statistical Office published the final inflation data for September, and no surprises there. It shows that inflation fell to 1.6% last month. That is, of course, the lowest level in 3.5 years.
Yeah, a whole lot there. Thank you so much, Chip. Yeah, that meeting tomorrow in China is a big one. Investors will be watching closely at every detail that comes out of it. And I guess by Monday, we'll see reaction in the market numbers. Now, let's come back to Africa. And we'll start from Ethiopia, where Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has announced the impressive achievement of doubling the country's annual coffee production from 500,000 tons to over 1 million tons within the last 5 years. The Premier pointed out that Ethiopia has experienced a remarkable increase in revenue from coffee exports, reaching over $1.4 billion in the last fiscal year. He attributed this growth to ongoing improvement in the macroeconomic environment and the coffee trade sector. He notes the importance of collaboration with stakeholders, including farmers, cooperatives, and regional communities, aimed at promoting awareness and implementing best practices in coffee cultivation. PM Abiy expressed optimism about elevating Ethiopia's annual coffee production to 1 million tons by building on past achievements. He's stressing the necessity of sustained efforts to improve quality in market access. The Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe has imposed a new limit on the amount of United States dollars that travelers can carry out of the country. Under the revised regulations, travelers are now limited to carrying a maximum of $2,000 in cash when departing Zimbabwe. Previously, travelers were allowed to carry up to $10,000. This measure is intended to curb illegal foreign currency transactions and stabilize the local currency. In recent months, the RBZ has implemented several initiatives to increase transparency and accountability, including publishing its monetary policy statement and updating its exchange control regulations. The bank has also established a structured currency system backed by gold and cash reserves. Now, the World Bank Group's Board of Executive Directors has approved the new country engagement notes for Zimbabwe for 2025-2026, and it's focused on supporting the country's immediate development priorities. The economy is facing a plethora of challenges, including currency volatility, depressed consumer spending, daily power outages, limiting production, low foreign currency generation, dilapidated infrastructure, climate change, political instability, policy inconsistency, and below normal foreign direct investment. According to the World Bank, the first pillar aims to support the country in reducing macroeconomic distortions, strengthening fiscal policies, and improving economic governance while fostering a more conducive environment for private sector-led growth. Then we go to Libya, where the National Oil Corporation says it has restored production close to levels before the country's central bank crisis, reaching 1.22 million barrels per day of crude. Libya's eastern-based government and Tripoli-based NOC announced that all oil fields and export terminals had been reopened after a dispute over leadership of the central bank was resolved. According to NOC, oil and condensate production levels reached 1.217 million barrels per day yesterday, Thursday, and that's up from 1.158 million barrels per day the day before. NOC says that Libya produced about 1.3 million barrels per day before output at the Sarara, El Feel, and El Cida oil fields was halted in late August and early September. Now to Egypt, where the Suez Canal has seen a sharp revenue drop of 60% and a 49% decline in ship traffic since the beginning of 2024, as unrest in the Red Sea region disrupts global shipping. Osama Rabi, head of the Suez Canal Authority, is quoted as saying that shippers are increasingly avoiding the canal due to instability and escalating violence in the region. We switch to crypto now and see what's happening right there. I think Ethiopia is still there from those news. We said that Ethiopia is boosting its Bitcoin mining power allocation to 600 megawatts. And that's making it one of the world's fastest growing markets for mining. And the country plans to further increase its capability this year. Many of the miners are using mid-generation machines due to low power. So I wonder what this will do to Ethiopian economy. It's an African country, remember? But anyways, So we see, right, Ethiopia boost, Bitcoin mining power there. And SEC in the United States faces lawsuit from XRP securities status. There's always something going on in the US with it. Perhaps if Trump becomes the president, we'll see less of this or more of it. But let's talk to Rume. Rume Ofi now joins us to give us his views on this. Hi, Rume. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ini. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, you forgot my name for a second right there. Is it because Ethiopia is now going to be mining? Will they have more power to mine Bitcoin?
I didn't really get that quite clearly.
Yeah, I'm asking.
I heard about mining Bitcoin.
Yeah, Ethiopia mining Bitcoin, having more power to mine Bitcoin. What do you think that would do to the landscape and their economy?
Yeah, I think when I heard about the news, I paused for a moment because a couple of the things that we do here on TV is to advocate for the industry and also its economic benefits to us here in Nigeria. I remember a couple of times I've actually talked about the opportunities that are bound in mining, and you can see Ethiopia actually doing absolutely well with that. We have more gas here in Nigeria. We are heavily blessed with gas right about now. I remember even from my childhood to now adult age, there's still gas flaring in the part of Niger Delta where I come from. All of these are opportunities where we can turn it around to improve our economy and also in a way to create jobs for young people. It seems that the right people are not listening to this conversation right now. There is enough opportunities in the cryptocurrency blockchain industry, and mining is just one part of it. I think the government needs to focus more on opportunities like that rather than just leave the space to people that don't really understand exactly what is going on. I think it's something that we can check and invest really on. There's a lot of opportunities in that sector, and I think the time is right for us to do that right now. Not leaving countries like Ethiopia that is not as gas rich as us here in Nigeria.
Yeah, Rume, I hear you being challenged by Ethiopia there, but I mean, some people will say, can we get the power for basic activities first? Transportation, I mean, the new price of petrol is one. NNPCL say they're trying to do a lot of connection, infrastructural development, so we can use, more people can access gas. Can we just deal with our basics and leave this mining of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency away at this time?
So why we can't leave that is that the country needs money in it, and I'm very, very sure that if government gets money, a lot of these challenges that we are having, we go through. So leaving that, I don't think
one of the most instructive meetings, given the fact that they were counted out and then counted back real quick. And a question of, do they cut by 25 basis points? The market says yes. And how much? Rume
does have a device on there, and that audio just sipped in on air. We apologize for that, and I think that's all we can do with Rume. That was disruption. Apologies to our viewers for that. Now let's look at the prices. We've seen some movement with Bitcoin in the last days. It went down to as much as $59,000, but now it's back to 61,000 gained, I think, in the last couple of hours. Ethereum is also in the positive, BNB, Cardano, and also XRP. So I wonder if this has come to stay, if we're still going down. Do we have Rume now? Do we have Rume? Rume, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I hope we will not have that disruption again, from your other device. But do you want to complete your thought, or do we just look at the price of Bitcoin? What made it drop to as low as 59,000? I think that was yesterday, or was it 2 days ago? And now we see a slow recovery.
Yeah, so yesterday's drop was majorly about the fact that the U.S. inflation came in hotter than expected, and a couple of persons are trying to see how to reevaluate their portfolio, and the market usually reacts really fast. It's a risky asset, and some of these things really happen really, really fast. And today we might be having the PMI coming out. I don't know how the market is also going to react, because that is the favorite gauge by the Fed. So hopefully we are going to see more downsides like anticipated earlier. But we hope for the best, because an opportunity to buy more. But in conclusion to what we're talking about earlier, before we got some of those glitches that came in, was the fact that the country needs money, the government needs money. So if there are alternatives where they could use gas to mine and allow maybe companies coming out from Nigeria to want to take the opportunity, that is going to make more sense than just focus on all of our issues about buying petrol and all of that.
All right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we certainly want more alternative to electricity supply. But thank you so much, Rome Ofi, for your time and views this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great. So that's it on the program. Thank you so much for being a part of Business Incorporated today. Well, the cycle starts again on Monday, Business Morning at 10 and then Business Incorporated at 1 p.m. But remember, you can always watch our programs at any time on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/channels web. You go to Business Morning or you go to Business Incorporated. Stay informed. You need to know what's going on in your economy. I'm John Mekwa. Have a great weekend.